Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to, not only blind reaction, but first impressions reaction to Chucky Episode 1. So, yeah, this is a first impressions reaction just to check it out, see if it's something I might be interested in reacting to in the future, or just giving a chance to at some point on my own time. So, we are going for Chucky this time. 'Tis the season, decided to get this done before the end of October. So, what is Chucky? So, for those of you who somehow haven't heard, Chucky is a television series that is a continuation of the Child's Play movies, which are focused on the killer doll, Chucky. And I have seen most of the Child's Play movies. I think I've seen up to... I think I've seen up to Bride of Chucky. I don't think I've actually seen Seed of Chucky. But I know about it, and I know what, like, the gist of what happens in it. I don't think I've actually seen it myself. But I might be wrong. But either way, I know that this series takes place after all of the movies, that it does bring back the classic cast. We have Brad Dourif back as Chucky, we have Jennifer Tilly back, we have, I think we even have the actor who played the kid in the first Child's Play movie back. I think he's even back. As the same character too, which is interesting. And I do know about the one kind of meme that's going around the internet about Chucky and how he's actually surprisingly not, like, as terrible as he could be, considering. I'm trying to be coy about it because for those who don't know, I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, it's just there's this thing going around on social media just telling about how Chucky's not as bad as he could be because of this one thing in one of the episodes. I don't even know what episode it's from. So I do know about that. Otherwise, I don't actually know, like, the general plot of the series. I don't know what to expect with it. I'm hoping that it's more in line with the original Child's Play series rather than that really poorly thought out reboot. With Mark Hamill as Chucky, which is like, the idea was okay, but they really fucked it up. They really did not do well with that reboot movie. It was not good. But either way, I'm hoping this is definitely more in line with just everything in terms of the original movies, like just in terms of tone, characters, story, everything. But I'm definitely interested to see what this is like. I've heard a lot of people are liking it. I heard a lot of people are just really getting into it. And so I decided, you know what, it's around Halloween, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a first impressions reaction. Why not, right? So, I don't know exactly what to expect. I don't even know if we'll get, like, Chucky as Chucky in this one, or if it's just gonna, like, oh, we see maybe a glimpse of that, but most of the time he's still just the doll. For whoever's the new owner at this point. I don't know what we're going to get in terms of that, so I don't know if we're going to see Jennifer Tilly. I don't know if anything's going to be brought up about other stuff from the series of movies. We'll have to see. So let's get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this first episode of the Chucky series was actually really good. Like, I mentioned a couple times in the reaction, it's been a while since I've seen the movies. But I remember liking the first couple, and then they just kind of went a little too silly. Though there were good aspects to all of them except the new one. The remake had a fair idea, it just really fucked it up. But this, as a follow-up to the original movies and everything, it did really well. It gives us our new main character, who is very quickly sympathetic due to all the shit he's going through. His cousin is showing some homophobic tendencies. His father is implied to as well, but more so from the father we see just general drunken abuse and whatnot. He faces bullying at school and everything, from his cousin's girlfriend and other various kids there. And yeah, it's like, it makes us care about his character. And in modern day and everything, having him be gay and everything also makes him a lot more sympathetic for a lot of us who understand what he's going through. While I never grew up knowing I was queer at the time, I very much saw that a lot in school. Kids would be, the word queer itself was used very often as an insult when I was in school. So was the word gay. And kids were just attacked for any kind of, like, anything that might be seen as possibly like that. And it was terrible. It was horrible. And even though I never really experienced it for myself in school, because, again, I didn't know I was queer back then, my experiences since having come out and everything can still, in a lot of ways, be very similar. There's still been bullying. There's still been just a lot of shit I've had to deal with. From family, from friends, from a lot of people. And so I definitely sympathize with him on a personal level because of being queer as well. And although I'm not a gay man and I don't know how that specifically goes, I still understand from the general perspective of being LGBT. So it makes our main character very sympathetic right off the bat. And when we get some likable characters, his aunt and uncle seem very nice, and everything, even though his aunt is hiding something. And we see this teacher who is also really cool. But for the most part, a lot of the people in his life, I think his name is Jake or something. I'll get the names down eventually. But it seems like a lot of the people in his life are not great. And according to him, his father did used to be cool. It's just, I guess, after his mother died in what was implied to be a car accident. He turned to drinking and became abusive and horrible. And it's a realistic thing. It is. Like, that has very much happened a lot in the real world. And you've seen it in many other media as well. So it's not like a new concept, but it's just always one that really upsets me. Seeing a parent turn to drinking and get super abusive against their child because of that just has always bothered me. Because it's like not because of like anything necessarily personal, but more along the lines of I don't understand how a person can think that that is in any way making like things better after losing a loved one. Like I understand they're probably not thinking about it that way and everything. Like the father here, he probably was just getting drunk. He was drinking to numb the pain, and the abuse came from that, from always being drunk, and he just got angry a lot. But I mean, that doesn't excuse it, obviously. But I still don't understand how even drinking to numb the pain can be seen as a good idea in that kind of situation. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my perspectives on things, and as an outsider and as a viewer of the series in this case, maybe it's just because of that and because of knowing how this can go that I don't understand. um but it was good seeing Brad Dourif return in this as the voice of Chucky. He did a great job in the parts he was in, and they worked up to that. I was a little surprised that they actually had that in the first episode, that they actually had him like really as Chucky instead of just like a few little hints here and there. But it's like they still worked up to it and did really well at that. It's like, okay, if you're watching this, you know who Chucky is at this point. You've probably seen the movies. This is directly a follow-up to those. So you probably don't want to wait forever to get to that action. But we're gonna build it up throughout the episode so that it doesn't happen like right away. And I think they did that well. We even had our first death in this episode. And it was a creative one, too. It wasn't like just a stabbing or anything. He electrocuted him by puking whiskey on the ground while there was a live wire down there. It's like, if you're going to do some deaths in here, I'm glad it seems like they're making it creative. do some unique things with that. Make it a little more interesting. And it definitely seems like that's what they might be going for, at least based on this one. But yeah, we see he has to go live with his aunt, uncle, and cousin afterwards, which, considering his cousin is one of his bullies, is not great. Though this might breed a possible redemption for Junior. He might turn around. I think there's been little hints that he's not as bad as some of the others. So he might be able to turn around a little bit. We'll have to see. It seems like Chucky is more after his girlfriend, Junior's girlfriend right now. So that's a thing. And she is kind of a bitch from what we saw. Like that conversation with the teacher after the class and everything. It's like, oh my God. This entitled little brat. It's like, you see this a lot in media. You see it a lot in media where these like kids are like super entitled and terrible. It's like, oh, my mom and the security chief or whatever are in the same Pilates class. I think it was actually the social worker or something like that. But you know what I mean. It's like, I can do whatever I want. I'm special. And it's like, oh my God, how do kids? And I know how kids end up this way. It's nurture, not nature. These kids end up this way because they're raised this way. They're raised to think they're special. They get everything they want. And it's like there's nothing wrong with giving your kid what they want to some degree, but sometimes if they're given everything and if they're constantly like just told they're like so special and better, they're going to take it to this extreme. Kids do that. You do have to be careful about that when raising kids. And it goes for the other way too. If you constantly hate on them and constantly tell them they're worthless and stuff, they're going to believe that to an extreme too, and it's gonna mess them up. But it's like we can understand how Lexi got this way, but it's like, ugh, not really great that she did. You kind of feel bad for her because she is just a kid and she was raised to be like that, whether by her parents or just by society as a whole, or both. But at the same time, it's like you can't stand her. But it's like you don't really want her to die. At least I don't really want her to die, because she's a kid and she's been raised this way. She doesn't know that it's wrong necessarily. Like, the father was one situation where it's like he was actively a danger to our main character. Like, that's a little different than a 13-year-old kid who's just a spoiled brat. And then there was the performance, the talent show performance, which was weird for a lot of reasons. And I'm not even talking about the actual Chucky part. I've been to talent shows, and I've even tried out for talent shows when I was in school. And you know what I've never seen at a talent show? The quote-unquote host of the show having discussions and everything with the people in the audience. That was throwing me so off while watching this. I'm like, what is she doing? You're supposed to be moving the talent show along. You have an actual schedule you have to stick to. Do you not know how talent shows in schools work? I'm just wondering what the hell is going on here. Like, what is she doing? And it's just like, is she doing an act herself, or is what? I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. It was confusing because it's like, again, I don't know if that's what they do in talent shows nowadays, but I have never seen that. And it just threw me so off. And especially the part where like she was like calling out certain audience members and like being very unsubtle about some of the shit she was trying to say. And it's like, shouldn't someone be stepping in and stopping her and moving things along? Like, this doesn't seem right. That they're just letting her go on with this. Like, it was so blatantly obvious that she was trying to embarrass, again, I think his name is Jake, that she was trying so hard to embarrass him. It was not even subtle. It was so in your face about it. And yet, they just let her go on with it. So that's a thing. Not a great thing, but it's a thing. But it wasn't terrible, and when he and Chucky got up there and began to quote unquote perform, that part was actually more interesting. Though I do wonder how Chucky like spoke out and everything, getting his attention without anybody noticing. I guess their attention was focused on the stage, so maybe that was it. But like, he's sitting a row behind him, right? Chucky is a row behind him, and he just suddenly speaks out and everything. It's like the person sitting next to him would have heard that, like, very clearly right next to him, right? or them. I don't know who was sitting behind, right next to Chucky, but the person there would have noticed, right? I would have noticed if someone next to me just randomly shouted out. Even if the auditorium is pretty loud at the moment, it's like that's something you're going to know. That's something that's going to pop out to you. So that part seemed a little weird to me as well. But again, the stuff where Chucky was actually speaking and everything during the show and performing, quote unquote, again, that was just Chucky being Chucky. Like, Brad Dourif clearly has not lost his step at all with this. He clearly still understands how to do this character extremely well. And I like how there's these little bits of this crime podcast from the crush, the kid who our main character is crushing on. Devin, I think his name is. Again, I'll get the names down eventually. But we hear this true crime podcast, and we're getting all this kind of information from that on certain things. And it's like, that's really interesting. That's a fun little addition to this, because taking place in modern era and everything. I actually really like that addition. And we also got, like, who I assume is the kid from the first movie and all, based on the context of what was going on and everything during that scene. It's like there's some interesting elements being brought into this series so far. And it's really interesting. There's no other way to put it. And it feels like a Chucky story, but it also definitely feels like a TV series rather than a movie. Like, it definitely feels like it's made for TV. You could tell the difference usually when you're watching a movie and a TV series. You could tell when something feels like a series or a movie. I've seen movies that felt like TV shows, that felt like this would have made more sense as a show. It feels like it could have been better paced and better worked as a show. It just feels like it's a TV show, basically. And I've seen TV shows that felt like movies. It's like, oh, this could have and should have been a movie. Just make a whole movie out of this, and it would have worked a little better. But this one definitely feels like it's in the right medium. Like, they're taking advantage of it in this medium and making it work. So I feel like, just from pacing and just direction and everything, it's working that really well. But all of that being said, what did you think of the first episode of Chucky the series? And if I hadn't made it clear by the fact that I said I'll get their names down eventually, I will be continuing this as a reaction series. I don't know when it'll be. It'll be sometime down the line. It'll just have to be added to the list. But I'm glad I got to this, because I don't know if I would have checked it out otherwise. And again, so far I really do like it. It's very enjoyable. It's really well acted. I think all of the actors are doing a great job. And I'm invested. So we will check this out again sometime down the line. I don't know when. I can't promise anything. I just have to, again, figure out some place to fit it into the schedule. But we'll see when we get there. Either way, yeah, tell me your thoughts on it down below. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.